In this lesson, we'll understand VM extensions. In the last lesson, we understood about the network security group. So how we can allow or block the traffic to the virtual machine and from the virtual machine. So VM extensions is another feature provided on virtual machines. Typically what happens now in many organizations, once we deploy the operating system, then we perform activities like install antivirus application, install backup agents, monitoring agents, then configure them, then configure the registry settings as per the security requirements, and configure the services. Like we do a lot of activities once the virtual machine is being deployed, either in the on-prem or in the anywhere else. Okay, because those are the minimum things which we need to take care to ensure that the machine, the server is or the machine is being secured. Either it could be Linux machine or it could be a Windows VM. Now, what is this VM extensions is in? The VM extensions is a feature which allows to deploy the software during the deployment or post deployment of Azure VM, Azure virtual machine. So what we can do is, and so this feature enables us, hey, install and Microsoft an antivirus defender. So Microsoft has tied up with a lot of vendors where they provide agents to the Azure virtual machines. Like Symantec will provide an antivirus software, and Trend Micro will provide an antivirus software. ESET will provide an antivirus software. Like Site 24/7 will provide a monitoring agent. Then we would see like an Veeam will provide a backup agent. Azure will provide a monitoring agent. Like there are so many vendors who provide services on top of the operating system. Now that requires an agent to be installed on those machines. Agent to be required. Now this is where it's called as an allows to deploy the software during the deployment or post-deployment of Azure virtual machines. So we need to ensure that, so this will enable us, we can choose during the deployment of virtual machine, configure a Symantec antivirus or configure an McAfee, like these kind of things. Then we have this allows to execute or run or execute the scripts during the deployment or post deployment of Azure VM. Azure VM. So what does it mean by it? Means apart from the installation of the software, we might need to perform like an installation of an IIS web server or configuration of an IIS web server, or create a folders, copy some necessary files into this local machine. Like we might need to perform certain activities. So during the deployment or post deployment of the Azure virtual machine, now that allows to execute scripts. In case of a Windows, you can run a PowerShell scripts. In case of a Linux, you can run a shell scripts. Shell scripts. So it's a feature which is sometimes used by the enterprises as part of the deployment process. So let's go to the virtual machines. So I'm going to create one virtual machine without extensions. So I'm going to create a virtual machine in Central India, which is in Windows Server 2009 data center. I'm selecting 2 CPUs with 8 GB RAM. Let me select the username and password. I'm selecting all defaults and create it. So in this virtual machine, I have not selected any extensions or anything. I just simply deployed with a normal VM. So let that go on. So I have one PowerShell script. So in the PowerShell script, I have a commandlets, which is install-Windows feature. So it's going to install the web server and all the management tools. Basically, it's going to install the IIS web server. And I'm going to create a directory called as a Ramana test in a C drive. I'm going to disable the Windows firewall or share of it. Now, once the virtual machine is being deployed, so I want to have all these configurations are being done inside the virtual machine. Now we can use extension feature to perform that activity. Now I'm going to the home virtual machine. I'm creating one more virtual machine. So I'm selecting in VM2. Windows Server 2019. Let me go to the disk. I'm going to advanced section. So in the advanced section, we see extensions. So click on select an extension to install. Now we see these are the three softwares which are available from Azure. Agent for Windows Server Monitoring, Site 24/7. So this is a Site 24/7 is a third-party vendor which is providing this agent. Agent for cloud workload protection, Windows, provided by the Symantec Corporation. So Symantec is providing this antivirus software. And similarly, AMD GPU driver extension, APM Insight, okay, by Site 24/7. We can see Azure AD based Windows Login Corporation, which is by Microsoft. Then we can see performance diagnostics, pipelines, and like there are so many vendors who have been providing it. Like we can see Microsoft anti-malware. Okay, so I can select this. So exclude files configurations of this one. So I'm not going to do anything. So now I selected anti-malware, antivirus. I'm selecting one more extension. So scripts, custom script. So we can execute a PowerShell script. Now script file. So we need to upload that file to Azure. So I'm creating a storage account called as an Azure script. So I'm creating a container. Container is just an called as an script files. Let me upload a file here now, the script which I have it in my local machine. So I'm selecting this file. Select upload. Select the file. Now we can see script file isinstall.ps1. Say create. Now, as part of this virtual machine, we have two extensions. One is an install Microsoft anti-malware and my custom script extension. So the custom script extension So we have our own PowerShell script which has been attached to this virtual machine. Now review and create. So let's wait for a few minutes to complete the deployment. Now, while this is going on, let's go to the other virtual machine which we created. Now we have a VM1 which we created. So it doesn't have any extensions installed. So during the deployment, we didn't select any extensions. Let's see. Now I logged into this virtual machine. I don't see a folder called as Ramana test because we have not selected any extensions. Let me go to the server manager. I don't see an IAS being installed over here. IAS server is not installed. We can see IAS is not installed because we have not did anything. We used a basic steps to create this virtual machine. I'm going to the extensions and applications. Okay. Add extension. So this is a post deployment what we are trying to do. So I'm going to custom script. So the virtual machine is already being deployed. I want to do that. Now select the browse. So I'm selecting the script which I've prepared, review and create. Now we are basically performing the execution of a script post deployment of the virtual machine on the VM1. Now what will happen is then it is going to execute that PowerShell script inside that virtual machine. Inside that virtual machine. Right. So we have this we deployed. Now let's go to the VM. So I'm going to the VM1 and first we'll check the VM1. Just now we have extended. Or let's go to the VM2. So VM2, what we did during the deployment, we selected the extension script, antivirus and anti-malware, and this one. So let's see what happened inside it. Now I can see there is a folder called as a Ramana test got created. You can see there is a folder called as a Ramana test created automatically because in the PowerShell script we have written. Then go to the tools. Now we see IIS got installed. So as part of the PowerShell script, we have kept to install the IIS web server. Now we see IIS web server got installed. So that way the scripts can enable you. The scripts will enable you to basically perform certain things. So I'm signing out. Let me go to the virtual machine 1. So in the virtual machine 1, we executed the script post deployed. Now it should have been installed the IIS web server and created a folder. Now we can see there is a folder got created, Ramana test, and we can see IIS got installed. So this we did post deployment of the virtual machine. Obviously, IIS got installed. So this way we could use VM extensions to perform certain activities post deployment or during the deployment of the Azure virtual machine. Right.